So I got something a little different today. Usually I'm working on ATVs, but I also work on automobiles. And today we're outside, we're out front in the driveway, and we're working on a 2000 S10, just a bone stock, 4-cylinder, but she needs brake shoes. They're starting to pulse a little bit in the back. You can feel it when you're driving. I did see them before and they were pretty low, so I'm sure now they are toast. Even though brake shoes usually last, what, 100 million miles. On this side, we also have a broken stud. So a previous owner went to take the wheel off and the stud just broke in half. I'm only going to show you the one side with the broken stud, but basically jack up the truck on flat ground, because you're going to want it in neutral as you back off the brakes, you can tell, and when you're adjusting the brakes. So hopefully all this goes smooth. Let's get to work. So today we're going to do this without air tools or power tools. We're just going to get this wheel off with some good old-fashioned muscle. To get these little center caps off, they got these little plastic caps. A lot of people tend to put an air gun to these or whatever tool they're using when really they're only hand tight. They strip out real easy. They're really thin plastic threads that thread onto the lug nut. And that's it. I mean, we worry that they're going to fly off, but you can really just see, I don't even know if you're going to see it, but it's just thin little plastic threads. These are nothing. Pop them off by hand, and then before I jack the truck up, let's do this a little old school, a little less tools here. Plus my air compressor's been acting up, and I've already fixed it 3 times, and it's pretty old, and I think it's just time for a replacement. So rather than waste my time with that, it only takes a minute with this. Now we'll throw the jack under it. Get back in the back, Lord. Always use jack stands. It's not worth taking that chance. I know at one point we've all done it. Climbed underneath the truck. Without jack stands. Tell me I don't have the keys. Son of a bitch. Alright, I got the other side all done. Now I'm going to show you this side. This is the one with the broken stud. I got myself under a tent. The lighting looks a little weird, a little reddish, but you're just going to have to deal with it. So I'm going to do my best to show you this. Drum brakes are kind of sometimes a 3-hand kind of deal. And I'm going to do my best to give you the best angles that we can get here. So let's get the tire off. With the drum itself, sometimes they could be pretty stuck. This one's pretty loose, you know, and that's probably because the brake shoes are no good. To get this off, you could try hitting it with a hammer. Sometimes they'll kind of pop off. So a lot of this stuff's going to be tough to show you, but let's get underneath here. Yeah, camera's having a hard time focusing. Oh, it's because it's so freaking bright out. If the drum itself is stuck, you got to punch in one of these tabs. Generally the little adjuster part, the little star on it, is towards the rear bumper. So punch that in, and then you can use the adjuster tool and back it off, and that'll help back off the drums, so then you can get this drum off. So you would just use a punch and a hammer, wherever I have it, and this tool right here, this funny looking little spoon, and then you slide it in there and you just crank it one way or the other. You know, it'll start getting loose. You'll figure it out. And then this tool, this is another drum brake tool. This helps for the holding springs, and then this helps get all the other springs on and off. So this one was already pretty loose, like I said. You can see that these brake shoes are pretty toast. You can see there's not much left to them. They're shiny. They're just no good. So here's all the springs. I know, when you first look at this, you're like, what the? So you can see how it goes. This is the little star I'm talking about. It looks like a little spur. This little adjustment, you'll come through. You punch that in, come through, adjust that tool. It'll pull these shoes in. I like to start at the top, work my way down. What you could also do, throw a bucket underneath, hit it with some brake clean. You can get a little cleaner what you're looking at. Brake drums are very dirty. They create a lot of dust. You know, but they're not really around much anymore. I guess unless you own a Tacoma. But again, start at the top, work our way down. We're gonna take our little funky looking tool. We take this end right here. You see it's got a little bit of a lip to it. And you're gonna put it on there. And you can see how it kind of grabs the spring. Things can be a little tough. Don't be afraid of the springs. You want to work smart, but you can't really be too timid. Alright, maybe we might have to get a flathead. And sometimes that tool doesn't work. Screwdriver. Just get it in there. See? So the spring didn't shoot off, hit me in the face or nothing. It's got a whole nother hook kind of holding it in place. So, you know, work cautious. But you can't be afraid. Now we are going to attempt to get this one off. So this tool is kind of designed to grab the spring and then reach into the rivet, reach into anywhere it can to hold. Squeeze it. And you pop it off. I said brake shoes they're a man's brake. I don't know. I apologize for not really being able to explain what everything is, but this spring holds your adjuster. Yeah, I guess it's your adjuster back off. So two main springs are off. We get a little bit of movement now. And then what we could do is we'll pop this one off. So these are old. And they're being a little stubborn. There we go. Oh, sorry for hitting the camera. But like I said, it's going to be one of them. Just tough. So now we have that all off. You have your, just stays in the center. Now what we could do is take off our two sides. Now the way these are shaped, it's like a T, and you're just trying to hold the pin in place. I'll start on this side. Hold the pin in place. Try and turn it. You know, just gotta get it off of it. These are so freaking rusted. Wow. It's a little pin that goes into the backing plate. Well, you can see I just destroyed this one. But it goes through, and you can see how that's shaped, how that's shaped. So, you know, slides through and it turns. But you do it with the spring. So they're not going to come apart yet. And we got to get this one off. Oh my gosh, this is so fucking trashed. So when the brakes aren't all trashed, it's not so bad. Alright, that's the pin out. This was the other spring. That was down here. This is kind of like your lock to your adjuster. Now we can take them off. Now we still have the parking brake attached. Just kind of slides out. And there we go, brake shoes are off. Here's your little star adjuster. So we will pop that out. Now we're going to knock that stud out. Hopefully it just comes out. Broken stud out. Take our new stud. I'll put a little anti-seize on her. Help her slide into place. Slide it into the back. Alright, so pry bar, keeping everything from spinning. I might have to get my bigger ratchet. Well, unfortunately for a little bit, I made a YouTube rookie mistake and my audio cable was not fully plugged into my camera. And what I'm doing here is I'm running the lug nut onto the stud. Basically, as the lug nut's going in, the stud's pulling into the axle flange. And I keep running that until it seats. A little difficult doing this by hand. I recommend power tools. Clean up your backing plate really good with some brake clean. Get the rest of that dust off. Punch out the little inspection plate to get to your adjuster. This is the adjuster. You can see how it spins. One way it goes in, the other way it comes out. Make sure it's functioning properly. Take it completely apart. Give it a good clean, and then get some brake grease on there or anti-seize. Really load it up because you really want this to keep adjusting. Brake drums last a very long time, a lot of dust, and kind of the more anti-seize, a little bit better, especially for the future. This is a universal GM drum spring kit. So I'm just picking out the ones that I'm going to be using, and then the rest will sit on the shelf for the next 15 years. I like to kind of throw together at the bottom, just kind of help me out, kind of give me a third hand. I put the adjuster in and the bottom spring, helps hold the shoes together. Apply anti-seize on any metal-to-metal contact parts, especially around that main pin, and then don't forget about the wheel cylinder. I do usually replace them, but this one was in good shape. It's not leaking, it functions fine, so why spend the money? Install the parking brake into the shoe. Little separator plate. Install that the way you took it off. Don't forget the little spring on it. Put some anti-seize, because another thing, metal-metal contact. Anti-seize really helps with future maintenance. It just comes apart for you. Keeps things from becoming one with each other. Now these are the holder pins with the spring. Has a little like top hat spacer that goes into the shoe to help hold everything into position. Don't forget that little piece. Now remember, this is kind of a horizontal little end on it, so you just want to slide the end on it, turn it, and it just simply locks. That one went on pretty good by hand. This is the other side, working on the little back off lock for the adjuster, so your brakes don't back off. That's what that goes there. Had to switch angles because this is where it starts to get a little difficult working with two hands, a camera. A lot of times I like to kind of throw a knee in there, hold it with one hand, and then have the other hand working for me. Now I'm using the tool, just hooks on there and turns, because I just couldn't do it by hand. Little spacer up top. Little spring for the lock for the adjuster. And to put this rod on, I use a flathead screwdriver to lift up on the lock, and it gave me enough play to get it up on the main pin. Sometimes use a persuader, kind of knock things back into place. I always keep checking, making sure that we're not like twisting anything or pulling it the wrong direction. This spring just attaches to the one rod. Using the brake drum pliers. These shoes don't have rivets on them, and that makes life a lot easier when you're using this tool. So you just got to try and find a spot where it's just grabbing enough where you can stretch that spring and hook it in place. And then for the final spring, I use the other side of the brake shoe pliers, and it has a little bit of a groove in it. You hook it onto the main pin with the spring, or let the spring slide down and pop right into place. And then I always give it a little check, make sure everything's in place, and then I kind of bend the end of the spring to make sure it stays. So when you're putting the drum on, so that went on real easy, but right now is a great time to already kind of pre-adjust it. You know, when you're going backwards and hitting the brakes, it'll auto adjust, but let's already help it out so that doesn't take as much. You're just gonna pull this little tab, spin the little star, spinning that counter or clockwise right now. So I just want to feel where the drum is a little tough to get on. So go a little bit more. So that feels pretty good. Now this is just a feel thing. So you want to be able to spin it. Sounds like we got a bunch of crap in there. Go a hair more. The drums are clean. All right, that feels great. So we still have spinning, still have movement, which is what we want. You don't want it where it's locked. I do have the wheel up off the ground on the other side again, so I can spin it. Now let's put the tire back on. To adjust your drum brakes through the backing plate, you're going to use your little spoon, slide through the hole, and you're going to reach onto that little spur, and this is all you're going to do with your hand. That little movement. And you're going to feel it turn, and it's either going to loosen or it's going to tighten. So you can see how tight it is. Got to try and go the other way. So now the tire spins a little easier. So it's that simple. Slide it in there. You turn the spur one way, it gets easier. Turn the spur the other way, and it gets tighter. Don't forget to put this little plug in the backing plate. So that just pops in to the little hole you punched out. All done. Don't forget to put your cap on. Remember, Chevy symbol's got to be horizontal or else it doesn't work. Hand tight. You'll feel it kind of like notch and then lock on. And that's it. Man, I am freaking hot. All right, let me clamp the rest of these tools. So then you just keep checking in reverse, because that's how they self-adjust. You just hit the brakes, hit the gas, hit the brakes. Don't crash into anything. But these feel really good. Go for a little drive here. Try and stop before the stop sign, because, you know, we don't want to be driving through someone's living room. Hello. Yeah, brakes feel great. Well, I hope this video helps you out. I myself haven't done drum brakes in probably over 5 years. Just not really cycling around too much anymore. So whenever I do them, I just kind of always have the basics and the fundamentals to take them apart, getting back together, understanding them. Some are a little bit more tricky than others, some are easier. Like these weren't too bad. So if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, help grow the channel. If you want to add a comment, maybe you do it more often than I do and you want to throw in a little tip or something like that, I'd appreciate it. Maybe everyone would appreciate it. So that's about all I got. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.